Well, welcome back to Capitol Square. I'm Jim Heath along with Jerry Revish. Now we shift our focus to yet another Central Ohio congressional district, Jerry.
That's right. Democrat Paula Brooks is challenging incumbent Republican Pat Tiberi, who's been serving the 12th district since the year 2000. A third-party candidate, Travis Irvin, is also on the ballot in this race.
Now, I asked the leading candidates about the major issue this year, how to bring jobs back to the state of Ohio.
First of all, we've done an outstanding job here at the local level. We've worked with our business community, especially our small businesses, incubating ideas and getting them into innovation and then all the way into production. We have a great educational system here in higher ed. We need to build on those things. We need to close tax loopholes that ship our jobs overseas. We all know that's happening too much. We need to keep taxes low, and we need to help small businesses get the credit that they need. Too many times I hear credit is not available for our small businesses so that they can innovate and then move those jobs from innovation and into actual production. We have a new knowledge economy. We are in a great position in Central Ohio to build upon that, and we just need a little bit of help from Washington, and I think I can do a good job with that.
What do you think should be done specifically to bring jobs back to the Buckeye State?
You've got to provide certainty, first and foremost. There's so much uncertainty in our environment right now, particularly in Washington, D.C. Small business owners, employers, entrepreneurs, they don't know what the rules are going to be. They don't know what the rules are going to be on the tax code, so we have to make the taxes permanent. They don't know what the regulations are going to be. They don't know what's coming at them next. We've had 20 months of a number of different mandates come at them. So first and foremost, we've got to provide certainty. Secondly, we've got to prevent taxes from going up, because there are employers that are sitting on their hands because they don't know what their tax rates are going to be. And then finally, just think about what we could do in terms of providing more revenue if we could decrease unemployment to half of what it is today. And that's where it was 4 years ago when Nancy Pelosi became Speaker. So we've got to create jobs. The government doesn't create jobs, the private sector creates jobs, and that's been the fallacy the last 20 months.
All right, a couple things from this race that I think are interesting. The president carried District 12 with 54% of the vote. The GOP has held this seat for 30 years, though. Tiberi got 55% of the vote in 2008, but Brooks was reelected to the county board with 63% of the vote. By all accounts, on paper, this should be dead even. And yet, polls show Tiberi kind of ahead in this race, with Paula Brooks really not gaining traction. Is that sort of the assessment here, and why would that be?
I think that's interesting to point out that Obama won by more than half. He won by more than half, and Paula Brooks's numbers there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is kind of a race that I think the national parties looked at it, and the DCCC, Democratic Congressional Committee, had targeted the Brooks campaign as one that they wanted to win. Then the Republicans came back and put Tiberi into their so-called Patriot program, suggesting they thought he might lose. But now this district has been called by most to be safe Republican, so it's a strange district.
And Paula Brooks is actually one of the stronger Democratic candidates who's run in this district in recent years. And in 2008 or 2006, she might have won, but this probably isn't her year.
Yeah, I think Pat Tiberi is entrenched as far as being the image of the kid from the Northland Mall area. He comes back every weekend. He's around the people quite a bit. Paula is too, but I think she's sort of the newbie on the block here.
It's kind of interesting because I think James, you're right. I mean, in another election environment where things are kind of that wave, if you will, is going the Democratic way, she becomes kind of a lethal force, and maybe that was the thought early on. Jobs just hasn't become a major issue, and I've been surprised by that in this particular congressional district, Jerry, that jobs really hasn't stuck or at least hurt Tiberi in any way as an incumbent. Right.
I think voters feel, and the people that live around him feel that he's safe for them. He hasn't really hurt him too bad, and so Paula's really had to prove herself, and she hasn't had the length of service that he has had in that office.
And it's interesting that they both are running these we're average people kind of ads, but they're both career politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, they both, you know, the idea of who do you support in the anti-incumbency race. They're, you know, Paula Brooks is a county commissioner. He's been in the office for a long time, so they're both kind of career politicians in a way.
James, we just have a few seconds, but the marble ad of Paula Brooks, least effective of the year, I would argue.
We thought it was pretty good. She seemed to be running against Congress, which is ironic because Congress is run by her party right now.
Right. I still get confused. There are marbles all over the place. Is she going to pick the marbles up? What's happening? All right, let's move on now to Southwest Ohio and another rematch that is certainly generating a whole lot of attention. This is in Ohio's 1st congressional district.
That's right. Democrat incumbent Steve Driehaus faces Republican challenger and former Congressman Steve Chabot. Chabot lost to Driehaus 2 years ago.
Some interesting developments this week. Driehaus has unleashed a scathing attack on the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Last week, the DCCC said it was pulling more than $500,000 in TV ads off the air. Driehaus this week said that national Democrats are walking away from his campaign after he had the guts to vote with the party on controversial issues like the Obama health care bill. Republican nominee, former Congressman Steve Chabot, has been running ahead of Driehaus in recent polls. He warned his supporters this week not to become complacent. So kind of a surprise here. This is almost the white flag in terms of politics. National Democrats are basically conceding this race, leaving Driehaus in a very difficult situation.
Well, it is Southwest Ohio, which is typically more leaning Republican. So in a way, for Driehaus to have won, even though he was a longtime state representative and a well-known name there, it was interesting that he unseated Chabot. But yeah, for $500,000 in ads to be pulled at a time when, you know, Rob Portman, who's also from Southwest Ohio, is leading in that area, it's really tough for Driehaus, I think.
I think the money is all going toward the Republicans now, just across the board. I think they're feeling that Obama is anti-business, and so the banks and the others are pouring money into the Republican Party.
Kind of interesting, the Democrats chose to run against Wall Street and the Chamber of Commerce, and so Wall Street and the Chamber of Commerce have responded by James pouring lots of money into these campaigns that seemed close on paper early on, but now seem to be breaking the Republicans' way.
And Democrats, their counter-argument is, well, the Chamber of Commerce is laundering foreign money into U.S. races, and they've leveled that in several of well, a lot of national races and here in Ohio. I don't know if the public is really paying attention, though. I don't know if that's going to hurt the Republicans or hurt the Chamber of Commerce.
Surprised? I mean, it's not typical for a national organization, Karen, as you pointed out, with 2.5 weeks to go, to basically send that signal, because at the end of the day, if the DCCC pulls money, or the Republican alternative on the other side, if the Nationals pull money, it's very difficult to raise money elsewhere. It's almost a signal that this race is lost.
Well, and there's a finite number of resources, and so the parties do have to decide who are we going to target, who is safe, and they've pulled some money from the Space campaign and Betty Sutton's campaign as well in northern Ohio. But, you know, you're right, they do have to make their calls, and it does send a very bad signal when it's a really close race. Is it a lost cause, or are they saying that they're confident that he's going to win?
Right. All right, still ahead, some of the other U.S. House races we'll be keeping a very close eye on come election night.
That's right. Also coming up, how Ohio could make history in the next Congress and what it'll mean for the nation.